Okay, but fortunately the Buddha says that in addition to the forest, the foot of the tree, then he says, an empty hut. So this would be what they call a kuti. In Asia, it's like a small, like a hut, usually with just 1 or 2 rooms. And it's very simple, just a bed, maybe a table, a chair, and then a place for sitting in meditation. And often they'll have either outside or enclosed inside a walkway. So when one wants to break the sitting meditation and do the walking meditation, one has a convenient place of 20, 25 meters to walk back and forth. Okay, so one goes to either the forest, the foot of a tree, or the empty hut. One sits down, one folds the legs crosswise. It doesn't have to be full lotus, but any comfortable cross-legged position. Keeps the body erect, establishes mindfulness in front of one, and then ever mindful one breathes in, mindful one breathes out. In a sense, this is like the whole essence of the practice of mindfulness of breathing is really summed up in that one phrase, ever mindful or just mindful, satova asasati, satto pasasati. Ever mindful, one breathes in, mindful, one breathes out. There's a question that often comes up for people practicing or interested in practicing mindfulness of breathing. The question is, where does one focus the attention when practicing mindfulness of breathing? Now the commentaries, you see, the Pali has an expression, parimukkhang satting upatapetva. Parimukkhang means literally around the face. And so the commentaries, even going back to the Abhidharma, say that one puts the attention at the nostrils or the upper lip. But what I've found with many people, many other people find this too, that this is a very, very subtle place to keep the attention. Whereas other places are easier to observe, at least the effect of the breath coming in and going out. So the advice that I give to people is initially, when you sit down, cross the legs, first get a sense, what I call a totalistic sense of the body. That is, get a sense of the body as a whole. And just maintain that awareness of the body in its totality. Maintain it even for a couple of minutes. Then become aware that one is breathing in and out. And wherever you can observe the impact of the breath most clearly, let that be one's initial observation post for doing the mindfulness of breathing. So some people will notice the breathing, the effect of the breathing with the expansion and contraction of the chest. So when breathing in, as the chest is expanding, when it feels the expansion, and just be mindful breathing in. As one is breathing out, the chest depresses or contracts. So then just be aware of that contraction and make the note breathing out. Similarly, it could be with the rising and falling of the abdomen. Again, when breathing in, just be aware of breathing in with the impact on the abdomen. When breathing out, be aware of breathing out through its impact on the abdomen. I've even noticed, because I have this head pain condition, so I have trouble fixing the attention anywhere on the upper part of the body. So what I've noticed is that if I put my attention on the buttocks, I can notice the impact of the breathing in and breathing out on the pressure of the buttocks against the seat. So in breathing in, because the body is expanding, the buttocks press against the seat. Whereas when breathing out, because the body is contracting, there comes a loosening or reduction of that pressure. And so one could feel in, pressing down, out, relaxing that pressure. So for a daily practice, or for initial practice of mindfulness of breathing, I say wherever one can notice the impact of the breath most clearly, just make that the observation post. But for the actual intensive practice of mindfulness of breathing, really with the objective of gaining a stronger samadhi, especially for gaining, if possible, the jhanas, the superior focus point will be around the nostrils or the upper lip, precisely because that's a very subtle area, and one gets the direct impact of the breath coming in and out there. And that's where the nimitta will develop. That is the sort of sign, often taking the form of a circle of light. Because when it's focusing on that area, because it's a subtle object, the mind becomes increasingly more subtle. But again, I say it's a very difficult area to focus on. If some of you have practiced in the Goenka's method of the 10-day retreats or longer, he always insists on observing the breath around the nostrils or the upper lip. And I did this course with Goenka it was in the very beginning of 2001 in India at Goenka's own meditation center. And he insisted on observing the breath around the nostrils. And the first day I was trying to do that, and it's very difficult for me because of this condition that I have. So I was just trying to focus on that area, and just one session and after another was going by, I couldn't get the breath. And I was thinking, just came to India a few days earlier, and I was thinking, intending to stay for a month, and I was thinking the images were coming, giving up, going back to the travel agent, or trying to book a ticket back to Sri Lanka where I was living the next day. Then I was thinking, they're giving this course even to hardened prisoners who are coming out of it and saying, wow, this is wonderful. And here I am, a monk for at that time, more than 20 years. I can't follow the breath. And I was getting really dejected. Just keep on trying. It's just not working. Then I just thought to myself, okay, I give up. I just sort of dropped back, leaning against the wall. The image of going to the travel agent, getting the ticket, flying back to Sri Lanka, leaning against the wall. And of course, I'm breathing in and out, and suddenly, there it is! What?
Found a jewel.
Found
a jewel.
Jewel. Yeah, just when I relaxed the effort, suddenly it came by itself. Okay, so whatever the point of focus, the objective is to be mindful when breathing in, to be mindful when breathing out. And so initially, one will just, in the first stage, simply be mindful when breathing in, to be aware of breathing in. When breathing out, simply to be aware of breathing out. Whatever else arises, thoughts, feelings, sensations, imaginings, one just lets them all go and again brings the mind back to the breath. I know Goenka doesn't encourage making the mental notes, but he says just be aware of the sensation of the breath. But I would say my own experience is that it's more helpful to make the mental note of when breathing in, making the mental note of in, when breathing out, making the mental note of out. Once the sensation of the breath becomes very clear and distinct, then one can drop the mental label. But to help to avoid the mental wandering and distracting thoughts, it's useful to have that mental noting as a kind of focusing device. Okay, so the basic practice, and really this is like the foundation for the whole building or construction of mindfulness of breathing, is all contained within that first sentence. Ever mindful one breathes in, mindful one breathes out. Okay, but now the Buddha is going to show how the mindfulness of breathing is developed. And here he goes into what is sometimes called the first tetrad, that is a set of 4 items. So he says, breathing in long, one understands I breathe in long, or breathing out long, one understands I breathe out long. Breathing in short, one understands I breathe in short, or breathing out short, he understands I breathe out short. So now, as one is observing the breath with mindfulness, one notices that there's different lengths to the breath. Sometimes the breath is very slow and long. Sometimes it's quicker, more rapid, and so it's short. So in this phase, one makes the mental note of the length of the breath, whether it's long or short. And of course, this is relative, or the two are relative to each other. Different people will have different lengths of their breath. And it's always been a little bit curious to myself why the long breath is put before the short breath. Because in just about everybody's experience, when one first sits down and starts to meditate, the breathing comes more, because the mind is still in a core state, the breathing comes more quickly. And so the breath is, correspondingly, the breath is shorter. Then as the mind becomes more quiet and peaceful, then the breath will become longer, more drawn out, and more subtle, till the point is reached sometimes where it seems one isn't breathing at all, but it's actually taking place, but very, very subtly.